During her construction, Lursen referred to CARINTHIA VII as Project Fabergé, a fitting name for a jewel of a yacht that at 97 meters in length and over 3,640 gross tons was one of the largest superyachts in the world at the time of her launch in 2002. She was also one of the quickest, with 40,000 horsepower at her disposal and a top speed of 25 knots. A milestone project, in other words, both for Lursen and for her exterior designer, Tim Hayward.
This was a very, very important project because we had designed Pelorus, and the original owner was shown the drawings and the design for Pelorus and said, "That's what I want." So we were then asked to create the design slightly shorter than Pelorus, and I was able to divorce the two. Every time I looked at a design detail for Pelorus, I would then do the same detail for CARINTHIA VII, but I would change the design so things became different, because it was important to me that this boat had its own identity. She caused quite a stir when she came out. Always been a very private boat, never appeared in magazines, and it did generate a lot of business for us. So it was very fortunate.
The last and largest of a series of superyachts of the same name, CARINTHIA VII's imposing forebody and sweeping sheer line became Tim Hayward hallmarks. But very few people have seen her interior. Well, that's about to change because the yacht is here in the Monaco Yacht Show, and we're going to take a look at the extent of that refit. But before going into specifics, I've got a couple of questions for Alberto Parone, Lursen's Director of Yacht Refit. Alberto, we're much more accustomed to hearing about Lursen's new build projects than the refit projects. Why is that?
We have a refit mentality. We always had it. And most owners that had our yachts, when they had, underline had, to do work, they came back. Nowadays, it has taken a new twist in the sense that there are many opportunities. Shipyard can't deliver fast enough, and yachts circulate, and so owners consider the possibility of making important changes and not wait 4 or 5 years, and in 8 months you have a wonderful yacht with the latest and the greatest technologies.
But Germany isn't on the regular superyacht cruising ground, so why would an owner decide to come to northern Germany to refit his yacht?
Okay, Germany is not Capri, that's true, but they come to Germany because they need a certain skill set. We've decided to specialize in complex jobs, and when people need complex jobs, they sail an extra few miles to see us because that's what we do. And surprisingly enough, many people, when they finish the jobs, the refit works with us, from there go to Sweden, to Norway, so we do have something to offer up here.
Sold in 2022 by Fraser Yachts just prior to the Monaco Yacht Show, one of the key reasons why the new owners decided to return to Lursen for the refit was because they wanted to charter the yacht for the very first time, which is not quite as straightforward as it might sound.
Private use and commercial use have very different regulations. In fact, I didn't even know them at the beginning. There's so many differences. And you can't forget that this was private 21 years ago. So the gap between what was allowed then for private and what is requested now for commercial is actually very big. We discussed with Glass and Flag 140 items that we had to renew or change where there's no space for negotiation. That's it. And we presented and we resolved all of them. For the Solas, we needed to have a rescue boat, which is in the bow, and it has to be operated by a commercial grade crane that needs to operate when the boat is dead, so with an emergency package. For example, something that we can see later are the VII ports, which are the first discharge in the case of major green water on deck. Pretty, I don't want to say complex, but a lot of work because you have to drill through these skins, retunnel them, paint them, and they have to be done in the bow and in the stern to make sure that at the end we got the seal and she can shut.
Of course, it wasn't all about class rules and regulations. The very high expectations of today's charter clients also had to be taken into account, which meant upgrading some of the yacht's onboard amenities. And I suppose the most obvious addition is this, an 11-metre heated swimming pool on the main deck aft. Another major intervention was on the bridge deck, where a major portion of the open deck has been enclosed to create a state-of-the-art 85 square metre gymnasium. 6 tons of glass were added to make this winter garden. And on the sun deck, always a focal point of social life on board, a new outdoor lounging and living area has been created with al fresco dining for 14 guests and not 1 but 2 bars. Despite the fact the yacht was launched over 20 years ago, her interior has remained a mystery. Able to accommodate 14 guests in 7 suites, including the master stateroom, the beautifully detailed and executed decor was a touch too traditional for modern tastes. And so her owners decided to revamp and refresh the styling with some help from Italian designers Zero Casina Architects.
So let me give you an example. In the clubroom at the owner's deck, we introduced a new functionality, a cinema area with a huge screen. But the idea was also to maintain the clubroom and the sitting area. So the two functionality are coexistent, and to achieve the new quality and the new sophisticated space, we changed the surface of the library from the original glossy finish to a satin waxed finish, like shellac finish, with stainless steel insert. The doctor of the owner is a curator, and she chooses all the artworks on board. And we think that the new space is quite not so old-fashioned like it was, but it's a new instant classic.
So everything we've talked about so far is the stuff the owners and their guests, and of course charter guests, can actually see. But there was a whole other side to the refit that's completely hidden from view, but just as important. And that was the renewal, replacement or overhauling of major technical equipment to bring the yacht completely up to date. These included brand new retractable zero-speed stabilizers, new generator exhaust filters, a new firefighting sprinkler system, a new AV/IT network, as well as upgrades to the AC systems and a complete disassembly and overhaul of 2 of the 4 MTU main engines, each rated at 7,400 kW. And there was one more all-important job on the work list, a complete repaint. A classic Carinthia blue hull is now majestic blue with a Matterhorn white and shark grey superstructure.
This is a fantastic showcase of what we're capable of. And I'm really happy that the owner allowed us to put on the show, because the job to be done was a lot and very complex and with a very compressed time schedule. And I hope/assume that this will open the eyes and will show that you can actually buy a yacht, a pedigree yacht, for sure, huh? And turn it into a yacht that has another 20 years of life, if it has gone properly through the hands of somebody who knows how to make sure that she is functionally and cosmetically up to date.